Professor Rao, I am very happy to be here today interviewing you for the Heritage Center of IIT Madras. Actually, you were the first person I think I met when I joined IIT Madras officially, when I reported for duty in the Machine Dynamics Lab on 6th January 1975. So, I'm really doubly pleased that after so long I am again meeting you in the IIT campus. And can you just tell, before joining IIT Madras, where did you have your education, then what were you doing? So can you please tell me something about it?
Thank you, Professor Narayanan. I am happy that I am meeting one of my old colleagues, so who knew me also so well, and also whatever I have done, he can also vouch for it. So that's a great advantage. So I am so lucky to have a partner like that, like Professor Narayanan, so who was so helpful and so guiding and many other issues. And I think the Machine Dynamics Laboratory has made a big name, and people like that were all involved. Before this, it all started. Actually, the first batch of in 1958, the first batch of the IIT Bombay started, and when they were interviewing it in Bombay, I had just then completed my master's at Indian Institute of Science in internal combustion engines, and I was taking a training. I was a trainee in the Kirloskar Oil Engines, Pune. So I attended that interview. The interview went very well with a lot of Russian professors, but and finally they said you don't have actual teaching experience. Then a month later, the director called me. He was actually applying also. The director called me. He said, no, you are not selected for that lecturer, but we are now sending about 7-8 people to Germany, and under some scheme for which IIT Bombay has been given. So if you are interested, would you like to go? And you are selected because you don't have to attend any interview, and we will make all arrangements. So it was also exciting, and then I went to Germany, to Dresden for my PhD and all that. There was only a class that I should work for some years, at least minimum of some 3-4 years after coming back. I returned in 1961 and then started working, but I wasn't too happy there because so they did not recognize any of my talent, many of my specializations which I took. I was asked to teach something else, etc., like thermodynamics and other things which are not my areas. Then at the time there was a conference on applied mechanics, applied mechanics at Bombay, when Professor Kurt Haug from here was teaching. He was a German expert from that, one of the first German experts to come here. So he came here to attend that program, and then he was very much excited that somebody is speaking German language. And he himself was not so conversant with English. His English was always, people were making fun. But then he was excited. Why didn't you come? You are a German man and this one student, and then you come away there. And I'm going to advertise also. You see how things are there. He advertised soon. Within a fortnight, I saw the advertisement coming for an assistant professor, and I was a lecturer. I applied. But when I came to the interview, whom do I see? Giants in the field, like Satish Dhawan as expert, and such people were there. And then I thought I may not be able to get an entry. And finally, Lakshman Swamadhyar, IR's father, and he was the chairman at that time. It's all very serious. They were very serious in selecting people in those days. And then I was selected. So and then, but there they did not allow me to immediately leave. On 6 months notice, I came and joined. So I was one of the earliest. He was teaching vibrations, and the students were in the final year, 5th year. Already the first batch was to go out in 1959 to 63. So the first batch was to go out. And then at that time, I was asked to teach some machine tool dynamics. It was surprising. 150 hours of vibrations were taught, Mr. Ryan, at that time. and second year vibration, third year vibrations, fourth, because Howe was the only man, he was fully teaching high vibrations, and I was so excited that my area of specialization is being given so much importance. So that one had happened. But none of the laboratories were coming up because he had not even planned a building for that.
Professor Rao, can you say a little more about the selection procedure? You said Professor Satish Dhawan, Professor Lakshmaswamy Moliyar, they were all stalwarts who were there in the selection committee. Maybe something would have happened. So, we have been in the interviews of other faculty members and so on. In those days, how did it go and so on? Briefly, you can touch upon that. It will be interesting.
No, actually, Dhawan's way, I also met him also much later when I went for a CMARI directorship in Delhi. He was the chairperson again at that time, second time also I met him. I was not selected at that time. And they were looking at something, spark the people. And that type of questions, very basic questions. And many of us, we don't concentrate. That was the time, because one or two fundamental things which I could not answer. The same experience I had in my PhD thesis. Dr. Rao finds out a new type of vibration and claims that he is an expert, but he doesn't know this fundamental thing. The professor showed. I think that is how I had to change my views. I think there is something wrong with our system of education here. Mostly exam-oriented people who are all trained, etc. and other things. And I think the people are all really looking for some spark in them. That is how. So that is how I was concentrating mostly on basic principles in all my courses. There was a nice saying by many students. Dr. Rao's first 5-6 lectures are wonderful. Afterwards only problematic, because a lot of mathematics would come, etc. But so that is how even today I had a lot of people, I got a lot of good compliments from people who have attained very high position even in this country, that my method.
Were you informed immediately after the interview that you have been selected, or you were?
Immediately. Yeah, within a fortnight I got it. In October itself I got it, but till end of April I could not. I joined here on 5th of May,
so 5th
93.
Of May.
Yeah. So 1963, and I taught the first batch of mechanical in machine tool dynamics. Yeah. And so my background was, I had a very interesting things earlier when I did a project work in Institute of Science on something like induction of alcohol to the petrol and diesel engines to see whether they'll give more power. They gave more power, but what happened was the stresses were so high they were failing at early. So many of the type of things, even there also research at Institute of Science, people didn't know what research was in those days. When I joined here with the first only one PhD in mechanical engineering, most of the senior people who had registered for PhD in mechanical department, I was the doctoral committee. So fortunate. So that was the type of thing. Even in IIT Bombay, when I joined the faculty, I was the first one in mechanical engineering with a PhD from outside. So this was the stage. I had a good chance to build a good team, and that's what happened here at IIT. I said, I should.
No, one more thing. So this is the applied mechanics department is not there in many institutes. It's sort of unique. Maybe in it was there in IIT Delhi, which came after IIT Madras. Of course, it was there in Allahabad, that regional engineering college. So there were only very few institutes had applied mechanics department. So you can tell some of your experience joining the applied mechanics department and.
Yeah, first I was when I was selected, I was not so clear at that time. It's a department and all these things, and when I was my vibrations, the plan is said vibrations, but it was to be taught from the applied mechanics. I'm a mechanical engineer. I may go something like mathematics department or something like applied. People always used to make fun of applied mechanics, applied mathematics. And that was true also, because most of the subjects were mathematical nature, which there is an elasticity.
And jocularly they used to call it as supplied mechanics department also, in the sense that because we were sort of supporting the other departments. Yeah.
This fellow writes to me as Department of Supplied Mechanics. So like that. So question is, but I still, then I decided, I created that machine dynamics laboratory. I was the man who created the machine dynamics laboratory. I told Sadhgupta, Professor, I am a mechanical engineer, you are a mechanical engineer. If I said only I am doing like this, my career will be ruined. So they will not, no mechanical fellow will teach me. So machine dynamics, which involved many facets, this one, I saw to it those areas did not come up with the regular mechanical department. So it became a part of this one. A. Ramachandran helped me, because he said, you conduct your course, but give the degree in mechanical engineering. The degree was given from mechanical engineering, but the course was conducted by us in machine dynamics. So that machine dynamics laboratory, as you are aware, so was one of the things. You should show the photograph of that. That is the one, which I will show you here. The very first picture of the development, you can have a look. Professor Howe also, he was instrumental in introducing a lot of vibration courses and taught. The laboratories did not come up. And in that process, he had to get back.
So no, say we had the vibrations lab, it was called, and then you said that
it was in the first floor.
Yeah, you made it. Yeah.
So Professor Sadhgupta, the first director, realized, I said, look here, there is one West German doctorate, another is the East German, I was from East German doctorate, and I was also equally coming up with ideas in those fields, because that is the field in which I worked in Germany.
You were referring to Professor Wagner, is it not?
No, not Wagner.
Oh, yeah, right, okay, right. Yeah. Okay.
Then I said, Professor Howe, he was not working towards much on this laboratory. So then he was sent. Then they wrote to Wagner showed interest to come. Then Professor Sadhgupta wrote very clearly that there is already one German doctorate here, Indian, who has come from East German district, but you may have some differences here, etc. and other things, the political situation. But he has a lot of ideas. So if you are able to work with him together, you are welcome. He said, I will have no problem. And he was a wonderful man, Professor Wagner. And so the vibration, because vibration, the German, Indo-German project on GTZ with IIT Madras was, no classified areas would be taken. Like for example, aeronautics was not supported. For example, here we applied mechanics and aeronautics was combined for some time, but immediately it had to be withdrawn like that. So you can see the vibration lab, when I expanded by the activities, not only vibrations, tremology, many other areas, acoustics, etc., you can see the number of teams that joined here. Mr. Veluswamy is here, Mr. Bapaya, Mr. C.R. Subramaniam, all of them retired in a very, we don't have 2 or 3 people there. Ramamurti, Ganesh were all my students. Ganeshan was my student. Then Prabhu was my first PhD student. Then C.R. Subramaniam was, Bapaya was working with me. And all my colleagues here, many of these people who stood solidly behind me in building up this lab. Today I am very proud of that lab, because when I see ultimately at the end of my retirement at 63, that lab had produced large number of PhDs which no other laboratory had made. The number of publications was so high, and the number of Academy of Engineering, there were 5 people with Ramesh, etc., 6 people from the same laboratory was started. That is a great credit to the IIT Madras, and particularly this laboratory. And this is the laboratory I was in the initial stages and I was happy to involve. The first job, ISRO, Abdul Kalam used to come and sit and discuss with us like this, what he wants. He wanted a hydraulic vibration machine to consolidate the solid propellants in rockets. At that time, all the indigenous this thing. So I developed a hydraulic vibration machine. It came also next picture you can see that. See here, we got an NRDC award, import substitution award for this. It is a 1-ton shaker with this one. We did it also for several other people, and even for tractor seats, etc. That was one of the first experimental project that we developed here. So when they wanted, see, we wanted to simulate satellites actually on a platform here. We developed a 10-inch stainless steel ball with pure air jets with a platform on which the satellites are mounted, and they could get 6 degrees of freedom. And then they deputed 2 people to IIT, ISRO people, for 2 years to develop that whole city. The third one was they wanted to expose, later on I will show you, see, these are all the people, you know, we developed for the industry. This laboratory particularly worked very closely with the industry, and we had a lot of major projects which brought us good laurels like import substitution, invention awards, etc., many other things, etc. See, this is the one which we developed and which came in newspapers and all that. You can see that. First we used hydraulic, we also used the pneumatic shakers. These are all very, so you can see the IIT team develops vibrator, Dr. B.V.A, etc. Names are there, the hydraulic vibration machine. I think this is something really heritage to see that, you know, how this institute.
I think Professor Wagner is also very good at solving some of the industrial problems and so on. And later on he became the founder of the industrial consultancy and sponsor.
Wagner, see, Wagner, what happened was, 1968 he joined, and immediately I went as a Humboldt. I was the first Humboldt fellow to be selected from IIT Bombay. So I went to Karlsruhe. During that period, IIT Madras, yeah. Right. During that period, he was managing. The moment in 1969 I returned, he left and handed over the charge to me in the Machine Dynamics Laboratory, and that's how we continued. For example, R.V.R. Shastri, now who joined later Bharat Dynamics Limited. This is Ramamurti's project for the KCP. We know the drums and trembles, etc., which makes lot of noise and vibrations, you know, when they mix up, etc., and they are messing the stresses. This is our bed. This is what I feel today. You have dumped all sorts of things on that. It's a beautiful. We took enormous efforts to put up that beautiful isolation bed, unique isolation bed perhaps in the whole country, where we can test. But
sir, still it is there and it is being used. Yeah, right, okay.
I don't know. Yes, you can see how the whole laboratory. The shock testing machine was developed by me for shocks. How this thing, because we helped also IGCER in the shock phenomenon and other things, because they wanted to see when they are blasting the jetty, whether the reactors, etc., were going to be. So we were concentrating essentially on lot of industrial projects of high magnitude and high need to the country, etc., with like ISRO, DRDO, BARC. I mean, all of us, no exception. Without all that help, when I could not have done it, such a team cooperation was there from all the colleagues. Although some people did not see eye to eye with me, but still we worked together.
No, you can tell something about your colleagues in the machine dynamics lab, as well as the other section, applied mechanics department. We had the fluid mechanics lab, the solid mechanics section, and so on. And later on, the biomechanics and the biomedical engineering section also joined. So perhaps
brief report which I wrote. See, the applied mechanics went through a hard times at that time, because there was no permanent head of the department. D.V. Reddy was there. He was always one leg here and one US, and finally he moved out there. Then they combined aeronautics and applied mechanics. That did not work out, but according to Germans, that was removed. And one time, both we were 3 laboratories there: vibrations laboratory, then elasticity laboratory, and also the fluid mechanics laboratory. All 3 of us were Bangalore, Indian Institute of Science. Each of us had, but we were all assistant professors only. So they used to call us Trimurtis in those days, because we occupied 3 different positions. At one time, when we were all 3 of us went to Germany, nobody was here, and the department suffered a lot. So you can see our industrial consultations, and we had very good. I don't know. At that time, I spent about 3-4 years in Germany before that. I could see how hard it is but we had equally capable people amongst us, like R.V.R. Shastri, Swarnamani. In electronics in those days, they were all coming up there. They could develop good sensors. And I also put up here many of the things we had developed indigenously, because indigenization was very much encouraged in those. You can see we are testing the bus ducts, all the things, nuclear plants, everything was tested, etc. I could see even how to put up good foundations for vibration free foundations, etc., which we are all doing it here. This itself is rare. What has happened was, in the HSB building, next building, the vibrations were affecting the semiconductor laboratory in the top floor. We saw the air conditioning blowers, compressors that were used, so they were creating that problem through. So those things were, we put up separate special beds, etc., to see that thing. That means we developed a capacity to organize ourselves. So that's how the industry people were very much this one. Ultimately, when we produced large number of PhDs in vibration area, acoustics area I was thanking, because thanks to the acoustics I did not have much, because that is the one area I picked up much later after coming. But no, the acoustics, particularly with after Narayan's entry, this one, we worked very close, this one, along with civil engineering people and all that. And so acoustics also became a very important thing. We used to teach ship vibrations, ship acoustics, and such areas also, interacting with other departments. We always taught, the applied mechanics and the supplied mechanics. We should supply, we should feed back good areas from this, all mathematical, both of the mathematical to the other departments, so that we do it. But still, although we are mathematical, we are doing hard.
You can also talk about the new programs which were started on industrial tribology, M.Tech in machine dynamics, M.Tech in industrial tribology.
Because after 1993 I left, the machine dynamics laboratory published a brochure giving all the publications and activities and everything. There you have acknowledged me. The courses, the postgraduate program started in machine dynamics, majoring in vibration and sound, the tribology, majoring in lubrication, friction and wear, and the maintenance engineering and management in reverse, are all essentially due to Dr. Rao.
They are unique programs. I mean, the maintenance engineering management, it was in those days it was not even in the country.
Types, because these were coming in newspapers. Yes, world is facing these problems, oil crisis, oil with a lot of failures due to vibration, dynamic effects. So we immediately transferred here, because what happens, I'll tell you, ultimately, anything is done, we realize it much later. Maybe even after the person is not there, that is our nature. But how we were doing at that time, but nobody talked about it. We thought it's all just normal things we were doing, but actually what we were doing is what is the country needs, and we were at the right. If that type of policy had followed, of the Nehru's policy at that time, I don't think this globalization would have come, and we had to depend on outside people, etc., for so many things, etc., and other things. So we had the capability. For example, the missile testing, when they were firing the missiles 4.5 kilometers, they were wasting one missile, costing enormous. So we developed a rig, keeping the missile and pulling the wires with the same acceleration characteristic for testing, qualification testing, and that got an invention award for us.
Yeah, no, the acoustic testing facility for high intensity noise levels of some of the spacecraft structures, they are also unique.
See, my people, Rao's people will see the number of people I would take, not one. That was my thing. I wanted to knowledge to assimilate to many people, not one, not leave with me alone. That was my trump at that day. See the number of people got involved, from civil engineering, mechanical engineering, electronics, everybody at everything. We are doing at the Ennore, because loose soil, whether we need piles and other things, strong foundation or not, we were helping them, those people here. If you just quickly go through it, it shows a lot of interesting things in this pictures. You can see how to find out these things. All these are some of our criteria, but see the number of colleagues. This is the dampers. This is how when Dr. Wagner was I thought, he would also be like the earlier professor, he may not put any of these things, but he was wonderful. He was the man to first to introduce how to test the dampers and analyze. And one of my PhD students worked on the transmission lines, same thing. See, every project we did.
No, the Stockbridge dampers are used.
Project from PhDs we produced on that. That is the credit. That means it was not only an industrial work, but also project work for PhDs. So that is how the systems were totally different there at that time. You can see these are all the things indigenously developed, tested, etc. We had a lot of good things. You can see the bus stacks, many areas. So some of the things we ourselves developed in the laboratories like sensors, vibrators and other things are also shown in these photographs. I don't know if you are able to make one such thing at the Mission Dynamics laboratory, if you can able to put it. It will be a good thing for future people to see that.
Do you have that acoustic transmissibility test? That photograph also you can.
Go to almost the end, sir. It will show you. Just go for. You see, these are all industrial. These are the things we developed. We could have continued with that type of work for indigenous development. Next, the last one you go, sir.
This is for the tire stress analysis.
Yeah.
Bagomatic press.
Over. This is over in this one. It may be in the other one. The next one they had put it, I think. Here it will go. So you will go there. Yeah, you go there. Yeah, I can see. These are all PhD works. See, even Germans gave me an equipment here. So I invited the director and also the German consulate for people. And see, this is the one, the SLV-3, first rocket Abdul Kalam sheds. We created a facility outside 180 dB, inside it should be 80 dB. That means 180 dB means if you get exposed out for a minute, because you can't even go more than 120, 130. But such risks we took in developing, we created horrors. All the here, near the thermodynamics laboratory, we created all these facilities and did it. So we interacted with many other departments and their facilities.
Oh, can I say something? See, we were the first to have this type of acoustic, high intensity acoustic test facility in our lab. This was one of Professor Rao's PhD student, Professor Rambhat. He developed it. But later on, the ISRO people, they found a use for this testing to qualify some of the payloads which have been sent by rockets and so on. But now in ISRO in Bangalore, they have a big testing facility, and also in NTEST in Emirat, that is DRDO lab, they have a big reverberation test facility, and we have all been design review team. We were reviewers and so on. But I want to say that this was the first facility which was created in the country for this acoustic sensibility.
In the Kaveri engine, you must have heard of the GTRE was going on, lot of problems. Finally I got still that letter, Abdul Kalam wrote, please consult Dr. Rao. That letter is there. So they consulted me and I gave solution within 2 months. Now, why that noise, where that noise is coming from and what could be the reason? Because it was a nonlinear vibration which they had not even perceived, etc. So this glory somehow, why I am trying to tell is this, somehow we could have glorified in those it's so much, but we did not do it. We did not do it, but we were in the right direction, how these things could come. I think the Heritage Center should take some steps to see that how the future generation people should pick up.
Perhaps you can say something about that noise test which we carried out in the airport, for if you remember something on that. Yes, right.
I have put up here, this is not only my credit here, this whole projects, all are major projects.
Yeah, that we can.
All are major projects. Year-wise I have put it here. See, when Pondicherry Airport, Pondicherry they wanted to put an airport, there was objection from Salim Ali for this fraud will be affected, and also the hospital people, the Pondicherry hospital people, and the other Salim Ali and this one. There was objection. Then the ministry people wrote to us, somehow recommended, go to our laboratory. So we, along with Narayanan and a couple of people, 2 or 3, Ramchandra and others, 24 hours we stood on the Meenambakam airport in the high grass where they had come, where the 747s would just land on our head, taking a great risk, in those days. Measured the noise level for all the higher level aircrafts 24 hours. 2 days we did it. It was a great risk we took. From that we plotted what is called noise exposure forecast contours, MEF contours. These contours show that within that contour no building should come safe, because they will be subjected to aircraft noise which can cause lot of serious problems. And so none of these people who were complaining did not come within that range. That was ours. But still the Pondicherry airport was clear. They completed the whole that runway. Again there was a problem, and myself, Narayanan and myself went. We went to the hospital people who complained. With the green dress we were all put on, because during an operation they wanted to show that, and we showed that the noise made by their generators was much more than the single aircraft that would fly on this thing. I know we had a wonderful. We also went to remember the Trichur. Yeah. Trichur, the whole area they were complaining of a textile mill which was coming out, the sleepless nights, and the children got a lot of effects, etc. And the magistrate of the spirit gave that project to us, and we tried to sort out that problem. I mean, I can go on large number of projects which were done. Luckily, I had a good camera in those days. None of these people were using any cameras. That is how I was able to keep so many of these photographs, and I would be very happy to see that these things are all given back to you, to the Heritage Center, and you will know that each will speak a story by itself. And so what I want to do is, I know that is a limited.
Can you just list some of the major projects which have been already? You can just read or name.
I'll make this whole report. I have to correct my English here because it was written in hairs. And I will, major projects, I'll give brief account. It's already written. I'll put everything together. It can be kept in one of the things for people who want to really see what mission dynamics. Some of, for example, today mission dynamics laboratory doesn't exist. Now that's why I am trying to talk a little more emphatically, because if it was continuing, it is a different story. In that manner it is not. In that manner it is not there. And I know that after the computers and other things, today's way of looking at, it's a totally different issue, okay. And but question is, at those days it was experimentation, with working with hands, and these are the type of things which were very much needed.
Professor Rao, you have joined IIT Madras at a very early date when the institute has just started. So you must have had other experience apart from academics, teaching and so on. You would have been involved in some as a warden or sports, and can you highlight some of those activities, some anecdotes? And
that is a big story. Yeah. When I joined in '63, hardly all the laboratories were managed by the Germans. They were there, but many laboratories were still to be equipped. Not many of them had come, and least with applied mechanics. Okay, so many of us, we were available for other works like Alumni Association, and then Jamkhana, hostels, staff club, faculty club, like that. So we were all utilized very nicely. I have also brought out this very nicely this. When we got when D.V. Reddy left, we got a professor from Caltech, one S.R. Valluri, the later who became the director of the NAL. And he found aghast, what is these people doing? Assistant professors and other things, they are doing hostel work and this work, they are not doing any research work. That is how he tried to look at the things, etc. And then And when A. Ramchandran took over, he also found a lot of young people, instead of spending their time on research in laboratories, they were all wasting on their faculty clubs, jamkhanas and other type of things, because this is not the way. I was the warden of Cardiology Hostel and also chairman, Council of Wardens. So immediately said, get out. Then, so within that 3 months, I got the Humboldt Fellowship and he relieved me. That's how it happened. So that was all history. But if you see the teamwork, if you see the Mission Davis laboratory, and then the type of experiments we built up, you can see that we are a lot of teams. You can see here, me, I am also there. This is which team it is?
Professor Sen Gupta, yourself there.
No, this is Shastri. This is alumni. I was treasurer. Yes, this photo I don't have. This photo I don't have at all. This is very nice. So alumni. So particularly, they were all. See, you say you are a Institute of Science professor, or studied, etc. You are doing all sorts of nonsense work. That is how it happened. So like that, it was very interesting, and to see that many of these things. That's why I particularly mentioned in this one. But one thing about the team between these 3 sections we had, and then I was also instrumental in starting the biomedical engineering. There was a number of times it came to the Senate. Somehow it was dropped because there won't be job opportunities, etc. But when I became head of the department, I bought the biomedical engineering. The first student of biomedical engineering, one Mr. Thirumalai, that even today, he sends me the car to either airport or station to pick me up. And this car only is moving around for me. That is the amount. Biomedical engineering was established only by me in that one. So we had 4 sections: elasticity group, fluid mechanics, machine dynamics group, and this one. That was a very homogeneous team, and in which.
No, initially I think it was called biomechanics. There was a Professor Gista, Professor Patil.
Nothing happened, but he tried his best, but it could not go through.
No, later on it became biomedical
engineering. Biomedical engineering. So I finally wanted to say.
No, your experiences in the campus.
Experience with?
In the campus,
okay.
Maybe your social life in the campus. I think you had a good garden. Your wife was involved in ladies club and so on. Those things also.
She was very active. My wife was very active. She was a dancer herself in those days, early days. And so she used to give also performances here in the early days. And you believe or not, myself and my wife used to go even in the double ride in the cycles in the old times. And she even today loves gardens and this one, flowers. So she got for 7 successive years the best garden prize. So at the hostel and wherever we had put up, etc. and other things. And she also became the president of the ladies club, and she was quite active in those things. And that is how I have been active. So for her only the school was started in Bangalore in 1942. I am a 75-year-old institution. I am just running as the president. I am also, that was the preschool which was started in Montessori system. I am also the president of the Indian Montessori Center. Just I returned from Vietnam. The first batch of Montessorians were trained there and all that. So all these things, and lastly,
No, you have mentioned about your tennis activities, club activities, and so on. And
yes, because everything you are asking. That's very nice of you. Question is because even there, although I did not do anything in the laboratories and research area at that time, whatever I did with perfection. I was the first secretary for the tennis court also. Tennis court. And so when I retired, I instituted a rolling trophy, B.V.A. singles trophy in tennis. That continued, and E.G. Ramchandran's double trophy for it continued for some years, and I don't know what happened to that, etc. So whatever I did, even there, when I was All of them were professors, but I was only the assistant professor who became the chairman council of orders in those days, 1968, in charge of the Tarabadi house also and all that. So I did a lot of, my time was very glorious time for me. It gave me a lot of opportunities to learn and interact with people, and I always took a lot of interest in not only in these things also, but in sports and social activities and other things. That's why, although I retired in June 93, I always kept contact with this lab, especially with close friends and erstwhile colleagues like Narayanan, who is interviewing me today, and I consider this day as my greatest memorable day for providing me an opportunity to recollect what all I contributed to the growth of this lab and the department I belong. Maybe perhaps the way in which I have talked may not be in order, that's why I put it in writing. You can see that in each area, so what has been contributed is also been explained. And I want to know, since it has come out in this shape, I want to add little more, etc. and things, make with photographs I put it and send it to you as a monograph, which can be put up here. The uniqueness and greatness of this laboratory can be gauged by the number of fellows of the Indian National Academy of Engineering. We were 6 of us. I was the first one to get, and so we were 6 of us, and unfortunately 2 are no more. Both of them were voracious PhD producers of this laboratory and who had largest number of publications in international journals. As human beings, we have our own shortcomings, but when work come here, we all worked as a team to uphold the name of this lab in the highest pedestal. That such a lab is no longer there today makes all the old timers who contributed to its growth and fame feel very sad. My humble request that it deserves to be kept as a museum for generations to remember at this place that there was a lab like this. Like we tell that all people will wonder, a man like this walked on this earth for Gandhiji.
Professor Rao, can you remember something about these look like some shock?
Kelvin, yeah.
Yeah, right. So there has been some negatives have been taken by Dr. Gauri. Yeah, maybe Klein, yeah.
See, I know it. There is no we. Dr. Klein, we got a Klein. Dr. Klein came here for fluid mechanics, and so he was. In fact, he has given me a very good certificate also. I took it for some time. He was because Germans are very practical people. If you go to a German labs, they don't work on some small gadgets, etc. They will work with one-to-one regular machines, and that itself they will do research. So that is the type, and they are all used to that type of research. That's why it would take a long time, 7 to 8 years for their PhD. So these are the shock tubes, and they were also doing for the buses, whether the flow separations, etc.
Yeah,
Fluid mechanics was doing it. Elasticity also was very well led by Alvar. He died long ago, but he was a wonderful man. So a lot of work was done on photoelasticity and other things, including J. Ramchandran, who contributed also to the.
No, even now I think Professor Ramesh is continuing on digital photoelasticity.
He has done a wonderful digital photography. So we had an excellent group, and that tradition is also still continuing here. And lastly, I think you all remember perhaps, when I retired in 93, some of the professional societies joined, and also my students joined to institute an endowment prize in my name, B.V.A. Rao. I didn't give any single pie. So they have kept the money, and every convocation it's given for the best student. Now, because we should all these things have got, they are giving it for the applied mechanics. Yeah. So I mean now branded finally applied mechanics man, not a mechanical man.
Do you remember some interesting anecdotes and so on which happened during your time? Yeah. A few of them you can, is a sort of interesting, which will be really recorded for memory's sake. I think you can tell, yeah.
Starting with Professor Kurt Lok, and I always remember, recently he also died. Professor Kurt Lok is a great friend of mine. When I worked with IIT for well over 13 years, Haug, his Haug English was not so good. So every time he would tell, my husband, sir, we used to correct. So my wife, Don't sir, don't tell my husband. So in 2 seconds, my husband, you will tell. Sir, doesn't matter. So he would say, doesn't matter. Then I'm talking about it. Wagner once said, Rao, I don't know what is wrong with these Tabelians. See, Germany, when you say yes, this means yes. This means no. Only Vietnam is, this means yes, this means no. Opposite. I just checked up recently Vietnam, is it correct? That is correct. But these Tabelians, when I tell something to do that, he will say like this. That means it has got both components, vertical and horizontal components.
Both the rotation and the linear motion are sort of superimposed. Okay.
So like that, no, we used to have a lot of
No, Professor Wagner used to perform magics in the campus.
no, that is how he was treated well in the jails.
Yeah.
Because he was also arrested after the war. They were all involved, that in the Second World War. But this man used to do magic. So by that they were all impressed, and they would give little separately something, treat them also a little bit. Wagner was a great man. He also passed away recently, about a year ago.
Can tell something about Professor Ramamurti, Professor Prabhu, and
Ramamurti was the man, first man after I joined. Ramamurti was a man whom I interviewed also. I was also in the interview at that time, because by that time, they said, because no German professor was there, and so I was involved. He had a good record of coming from IIT Kharagpur and other things and all that, but he had not completed his PhD. Then he registered under Dr. R.S. Alvar, and then there was some problem, etc. Then I was that time in Germany, and he finished his Germany. After PhD, he wanted to be more independent. My thing was, I said, my knowledge must percolate not only to the students, but also to the industry people. So a lot of industry people used to come with dynamic problems and other things. But problem is, they were not really interested in working with other project or spending money on these things, etc. They were not interested. But I said I would discuss for hours with them what can happen. So I used to also invite him, being number 2 here. So after then he went to Germany and came back. Afterwards said, Mr. Rao, my rate will be 200 rupees per hour if you call me. I can't waste time with these people. Thank you. So that is the day we never worked together for next 20 years, more than 20 years. But we are in the same laboratory, same people. He also guided number of people, etc., along with me and all that. And he was great. And recently, I am more known outside the IIT as B.V.A, means Bearing Vibration Acoustic Rao. B.V.A always introduced in every conference and seminar. B.V.A means bearing vibration. That is the 3 things which I introduced here. Bearing means tribology, vibration, acoustics, that is the dynamics. So which I introduced. So that is how it happened. And this Condition Monitoring Society of India, I used to inaugurate and he used to give keynote address. And we became close friends. And last, when he was in the deathbed almost, with suffering from cancer, living in cancer, we ourselves went and all that met. I met twice with him. He was very jovial and talked, etc. So he was also remembering some of the things, etc. about that one. Okay.
Yeah, he was remembering that we used to do a lot of experiments in those days.
Glorious tribute here to Ramamurti also. One more thing we should say, we took a project for Bharat Dynamics Limited, that wire spool unwinding machine. I used to take not only my laboratory, from mechanical I used to take from electrical engineering and also electronics people, because it involved a lot of things, etc. several times. One Ramaswamy was there at that time. I used to take him. We built a Thyristor. Thyristor was still new in those days, etc. So a 1500 kilowatt DC motor has to drive a gearbox running from 1500 to 15,000, at the end of which a disc with 400 mm with a sonic speed. Very complicated setup we developed for the dynamics. And then what happened, when everything was tested and then was happening, we took and put it there, thinking blasted, the whole building went off. You have seen one of the pictures like that, getting etc. Not that one, but I showed it one of the letter. Full damn thing is disaster. So Ramaswamy said, no, you people, your mechanical fellows are the failures. So all my energy is wasted in this developing this control, etc. and other things. I won't come. Pandale was director. He said, come later. Then, so Pandale has called me. So the project came to almost a still this one. So this man said he will not come and he will not again look into it. So that we had no idea about that. You were told to do it. At that time, B.V. Shastri had then just come back from Germany. I will take B.V. Shastri, sir. No, he doesn't know anything about this project, etc. Doesn't matter. I took B.V. Shastri, got it completed. Then, 2 months later, the Brigadier Anthony, who was the chief of the Dynamics, wrote to me, Mr. Rao, although this is a classified project, it should not be publicized outside. Because of the efforts you people have taken, I would like to recommend it to the Invention Promotion Committee. And I gave the name of Ramaswamy also. Ramaswamy had stopped talking for me, it was at 6 months by that time. And then when he saw in the newspaper that he got it, he was so excited. That game became. So these are all okay, the part of the game. Question is now, everything was in the interest of the institution and its growth. And we never let down anybody outside that any project has failed because of our efforts.
No, I would like to mention that, nowadays people take pride in multidisciplinary projects involving a number of departments and so on. Even in those days, I think such things were happening. I mean, people were not knowing that they stress a lot of importance on interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary projects, but that has been there right from the beginning.
I am humbled and honored to receive this accolade from the President, World Federation. I am equally grateful to the President of Institution who nominated me to this honor. That I am receiving this international recognition at this age of mine is a great wonder and satisfaction to me, that my efforts in this direction to share the knowledge and academic experience with larger group of students and professionals for nearly 55 years has been greatly recognized today. In this regard, I would like to share briefly the approaches followed by me in engineering education, that's important, all the time without any expectations of whatever nature. Somehow right from the beginning of my career at IIT and other places, I always believed in wonder in order to wonder, which I acquired from my earlier projects of masters and PhD works. This means that I always aim towards both breadth and depth competence, which many may not agree. My wandering to different associated areas in which I scarcely had knowledge resulted in guiding large number of students to get specialized in them, who in turn brought me later laurels. This made me to believe more and more strongly in wonder in order to wonder. Only through wandering in unexplored new fields, we reap ultimately wonderful outcomes. Perhaps a few of my earlier distinctions, such as the Fellowship of the Indian National Academy of Engineering from INAE in 1988, the National Design Award from the Institution of Engineers in 2004, and the Golden Doctorate from the Technical University Dresden, Germany in 2011. They gave 50 years later, they gave were all good promises. Another strategy I strictly followed from the beginning of my career was to combine research and practice simultaneously. Through several projects and consultations, I came closer to many industries, which in turn earned me many credits. The outcome of all these undertakings was to make others shine, which would result ultimately in our own shining, getting shined, of having contributed to a couple of innovative industry leaders, an absolute present day requirement to meet global challenges. You know, the Suresh, who was the ISRO chairman, we have taught him vibrations, we have taught him vibrations. Such people, you know, big, very Padma Bhushan are all becoming, all those people. Many of those Padma Bhushans are all by our students only. In this regard, the steps taken, etc., it recognize the importance of engineering education towards the betterment of quality engineering and industrial leadership is praiseworthy and most cherished. So, I just mentioned that is a very important thing, that most of our youngsters, okay, they may be very highly knowledgeable in their this thing and in computer computations, experimentation, but we thought if they don't work with hands, we don't do this type of projects, so we remain the same thing and we will not be able to. We may get to this one, but that will never work. So, ultimately what is needed a country is, we may have thousands of papers. I don't want to name, some people have got 6,000 papers, 600 PhDs, not even one of them has seen the daylights. They all go to the shelves. But what country is now looking at is the people with, that's it. How we should be something that, not even one equipment which we call one. Even today we talk of anything, we talk of C.V. Raman effect, that's all. Which other scientist, which other great engineer has made? For example, the same WFEO gives one medal for construction management, for a civil engineer. Not even one from India. So many people from outside, because they are all developed a lot of that type of civil engineering jobs, they get it. So the question now is, somewhere we lack in these things, and Nehru's policy of these IITs to go to the various countries to get new knowledge, etc., has been totally floored, because all the IITs are following the same pattern now today. We should have got the German pattern, Bombay should have got the Russian pattern, Delhi should have got the Delhi justice pattern. If they had followed that type, we would have knowledge from all those countries here in this country, and at least we would have been much in a different way in engineering education as well as the industrial development. So this is my message I would like to give to the heritage from our past experience, and I thank you, thank Professor Narayan and Professor other good old friends here who are all here, so who made this one, and I promise that I will complete this report, and you promise that it will be kept for publicity, etc., and other things for people to read. Is there anything else to go?
So thank you, Professor Rao. It's very nice talking to you.